Okay, I think we're going to get started. It's quite a small crowd, so feel free to move towards the front. These chairs are not bombed or mined. They're very safe. They're actually more comfortable than the chairs at the back. So I'm going to talk to you about Microsoft Translator, which is a new technology that has spawned out of the Microsoft Research Group. It's actually been worked on for a very long time. For 13 years, the Language Translation and Specialization Group has been working on intelligent machine systems, computing power to translate human language, and working on ways of doing that. I am Dr. Neil Rudin. I work for a company called N Squared. I'm also a Microsoft Regional Director. And a Regional Director is someone that works very closely with Microsoft to help evangelize, talk about, and distribute Microsoft technology. But also I'm independent, so I'll tell you if I think something sucks. So without further ado, let's have a look at what I'm actually going to talk about, if this machine reacts. Here we go. So the translator offering, this is the obligatory Microsoft iChart. Has a number of aspects to make it easy for us as developers to integrate language translation of 12 languages into our website and our applications, to enable us to really globalize the software that we're building. It allows us to do in-place translation, and we support a number of different APIs, a number of different ways of doing that translation. It doesn't have to be on a web page. And as I show you through doing some demos, you'll learn how you can put this technology to use within different application paradigms. So without drilling into all of these individual ones, I thought the simplest thing to do is to get started by showing you some demos. So here I've got a very simple web page. Now, to really prove just how cross-platform this is, you'll notice that I'm not running in what might be considered a traditional Microsoft environment. So I've got my browser up, and I've got my source for my web page. And it's a very simple web page that I have loaded up here, just with some divs with some text in. And I want to translate this to a different language. How do I go about getting started? Well, the first thing is try and find in your bag, you will have got a little card like this in your show bag when you registered. And if you didn't, if you can't find it, come and find one of us and we can give you another one. And on the bottom of that is an invite code. And that invite code lets you access the widget. When you put your invite code in, you'll get to a page that lets you customize how your widget is going to look. And this is the simplest way of adding to your site simple translation. It'll translate a whole page. So you put in your site name, put in your site language, and you can customize the color of your widget. Just go for the grayish brown one. You can customize the size of your widget, and you can generate the code for that. You can then take that code, simply copy and paste it into your page, save that page, go back, hit refresh, and now I've got that widget in my page. I can pick a language. We'll pick Spanish, but I could have picked any of these languages to translate to. I hit translate, and I've translated the contents of my page into that language. So this is a very simple way, very quick way, very low-cost developer way of adding multi-language support to your website, to the contents of your website. Now, one of the things you will have noticed here is that it's translated the entire page. You may want to only translate certain sections of your page. The widget translates the entire page. If you wanted to pick particular sections of your page to translate, you can start using the Ajax API. So let's take that widget out. To start using the Ajax API, you actually needed a different invite code. And we have a number of those that we're handing out at the event. And when you select that invite code and put it into the right page, you'll come out to this page. And this page lets you put in the URL of the site that you want your Ajax code to run on. You generate the code, and again, you copy it. This is really just so simple. I'll be done in a lot less than 20 minutes. You copy it out, paste it in here, and now I have access to the Ajax API set. With the Ajax API set, I can start calling into methods to do translation. So I've just got some here so you don't have to be bored by watching me type. And I'll just talk through what's happening in this function. This is just a JavaScript function where I'm doing a translation of a piece of text using the Microsoft Translator translate method and picking out an element by its ID and then translating from one language to another language. Very, very simple. So I can trigger that in my page load method. By passing in the ID, the div ID of what I want to translate. Save that page. Let's go back to the test page. Refresh it. Now it's done it on load, so straight away I've translated. But what you'll notice is I'm not translating my text at the top. I'm just translating the text that's within that div. So now I have a bit more programmatic control using some JavaScript, very simple JavaScript, in order to translate just certain pieces of the page or the contents of my site. Okay, so that's pretty simple. What else can I do? So I've shown you how to use the widget. I've shown you how to use the JavaScript Ajax API. Well, we actually have hosted an interactive SDK. You know, the experience I've had working with lots of different developer teams and working with lots of different technologies is the interactive SDK is totally rock. There's interactive SDKs for a number of technologies now. And so we decided with the translator to build an interactive SDK as well. And this interactive SDK lets you go along and pick what you want to do. So we could say, for example, we wanted to translate elements. We can pick what language we want to translate it to. So we could say French, do a translation. And we can have a look and see what the code behind that actually looks like. And copy and paste that code like every good developer does. Just copy and paste that code out. And you'll see here the code looks very similar. The translate paragraph code looks very similar to the code that I just showed you. So it's already done for you, pretty much. We already have created the templates for everything you need to do this translation. Now what you can see here is I've shown you the web widget, I've shown you the Ajax interface. We also support an HTTP REST interface and a SOAP interface. So if I want to know how I'm going to go ahead and say I wanted to do something client-side and build a rich client application that used SOAP or that used the HTTP interface, I can drill into this and start finding out how to use it. So let's have a look and see how I could detect the culture codes, for example. So here I could enter some text. And I can detect the language of that text. And it detects that that is English. So now I'm starting to get a little more power. I can actually look at the language that is being entered. So for example, if you're running a forum or a wiki, I could start supporting multiple languages being entered into a content field or a text field and detect on my server side or on the client side what that language is, and then do something intelligent with it. There's also an API to return all the supported languages. This shows you the culture codes. Well, that might not be so useful to display to a user, so we also show the languages in the native language. And again, I want to see what the code behind looks like. I can have a look here. I can see that I'm really just making a web request across using the get languages and the app ID. Now, because Microsoft knows that giving you one app ID to do everything would be way too simple. So this is a new app ID. This app ID is related to your search app ID. So if you need to use the HTTP or SOAP requests, you go and get a live search app ID, and that's the one to use here. So you get a widget app ID, an AJAX app ID, and a search app ID. So just remember they're different things. If you put the wrong app ID in, you'll get a funky result come back out. So a very, very simple way of pulling out the different languages that are supported. And I can do the same thing to actually do a translation. So I can translate some text, same as I've shown you before, and we can have a look at the code behind. And you can see here, again, I'm just doing an HTTP request. So how is this useful? What kind of applications could be built using this technology? I'd like to introduce you to Matthew from Lonely Planet, who has actually gone ahead and started building a real-world application using this technology. And it's not directly a web application. It's a smart client application. So there you go, Matthew.
Smart client. We're obviously not allowed to mention the I word. But so what we did, we got access to this not very long ago, and we have an application. We have an iPhone phrasebook application, which is also available on Windows Mobile and BlackBerry and a whole host of other devices. How many of you have seen our phrasebook application? Cool, a few of you. Well, let me just, let's fire this up. So this is English to Mexican.
Just there we go. Give you volume.
Thank you. And it's, you know, it's a really simple, straightforward application. You can go through the categories, sightseeing, tours, click on the phrase that you want translated.
¿Cuándo es la próxima excursión de un día?
So it plays the phrase out for you. That's not machine language. That's a real person who we sat in a studio. I know, it's a shock. It was a real person that recorded those. You get it in English, and you also get the phonetic, how to say that phonetically. So it's, I quite like the guy who does the Spanish, so we'll play with
¿Incluye entrada?
It's very good. So this is our current application. We like this a lot. It sells really well. But we wanted to move it on a step. So what we did, if I just go further back up, is using the Microsoft Translator technology, we've added my phrases. Now, I'm a very keen motorbiker, so being able to build a phrase book that has motorbike-specific translations in it is really handy for me. I got caught in Poland on the way to Russia on my motorbike last year. It was very difficult trying to explain to somebody that my rear wheel bearing had broken. This would have saved me. But anyway, let me show you how easy it is to add a phrase. So we're going to choose a phrase that I know translates correctly, and then I'm going to do a phrase that I know doesn't translate. So we're going to put in, how much does the yellow shirt cost? Question mark. Hit done. And there's the translation. That's great. We know that's correct, so we go, I happen to be with somebody who speaks Spanish. Or close enough. So if you're with someone, what you can do is you can actually add the voice as well. So I'll just ask Dr. Neil to come over here. I'll press start.
Quanto costa a camisa almirilla?
Oh, that was quite good. We'll just play that back, make sure it's okay.
¿Cuánto costa a camisa almirilla?
Fantastic. Hit done. And there it is. That is now in my phrases within my phrase book. I've built that specifically for my
¿Cuánto
request.
costa a camisa almirilla?
So we quite like that. We think that's quite cool. So I'm going to choose one now that I know is wrong. So no, I'd like to buy the red one. Anyone remember language classes in school? I feel like I should be doing the monkey is in the tree. The monkey is under the tree. But no, we'll do... There we go. I'd like to buy the red one. Now, there we go. So we've got a little translation error there. And it is... you know what? It's been fixed. So there's not a translation error there, but assume there is. The translation error should have been that. So that's how easy it is to correct these. You just click in the box and change the letter over. Hit done. We can add the voice again.
Oh, it's the same one. Quanto costa a camisa amarela?
You just gave up halfway through that one, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. It was the same one. I've already done that one. That's okay.
Okay,
you get the idea.
Oh, it's the same one. Quanto costa a camisa amarela?
So you get the idea. So there we go. We built this really easy. It was one line of code to integrate Microsoft Translate. We think it's quite a cool product. Go buy it now.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So that's all done using the translator SOAP APIs and, of course, taking that and using it within a non-web browser experience to enrich the application that the Lonely Planet team is producing. And, of course, there's a very obvious application space for translation. But as the world gets smaller and smaller, I think we'll find that the need to be able to speak different languages is going to become more and more critical. The need to expose what we're doing into a number of different languages is going to become more and more critical. And what I've put together here is a set of resources that will really help you to get started using this. I've shown you the Interactive SDK, which is a really good place as a developer to get started building your website or your rich client code into using this. We have a Getting Started guide that is up on MSDN now. We have a Getting Started guide for the .NET developer. We also have a Getting Started guide for the PHP developer. We have the Interactive SDK, like I said, and the traditional Microsoft help file format that we're supporting so that you can go and have a look at the actual reference material, and every API that we document, we're putting some sample code as well, so you can, again, just copy and paste that code, try to make it as simple as possible. Within IE8, which you may have noticed there was an announcement about this morning, I don't know, I think they're shipping soon or something. We have an accelerator that does a translation. We have a messenger bot. If you add Microsoft Translation Bot, mtbot at hotmail.com to your live messenger, you can start a multi-language translation. Microsoft Translator is integrated into live search, and there'll be more information on that coming, and there's another session going on. Of course, they ran us both at the same time on live search at the moment, where we're talking about Microsoft Translator as well. We have integration into Office, and you may have already seen some of that. So there's a number of different places that Microsoft Translator as a technology is being utilized by Microsoft itself within different product groups. And we saw this as such a strong opportunity for you guys to start using this technology yourselves within your own products, that a number of different APIs are being exposed now and supported. So I guess some, ending notes is this is still a CTP. It's releasing, this week as a CTP. The feedback from you is really critical. Like anything Microsoft does, the feedback, we want to hear it. Microsoft wants to hear, the research teams want to hear what you're using this for, what you'd like to use this for, what's blocking you, if there is anything, from using it. So if you have any of that feedback, you can either contact us directly or drop an email to mtcont@microsoft.com. So that pretty much brings me to the end of what I had to talk about and the end of my 20 minutes. If you have any questions, please come up and to the microphone and ask those questions.
Is there any information about terms of use yet?
Okay. So the question is?
Any information about what the terms of use might be? What the pricing?
Information about what the terms of use are. So the current terms of use are for non-commercial. If you have a commercial opportunity, please contact the Microsoft Translator team and contracts can be drawn up. So people are doing, as you may have guessed, commercial things with Microsoft Translator. So yeah. Vikram, do you want to step to the microphone and answer some of that? Sure. Vikram works for the translation team.
So there are slightly different terms for the widget versus the APIs. If you want to use the widget on a commercial site, you're OK to use it. So it's mostly the SOAP and the HTTP APIs, which are limited at this point. You can use them for development purposes or low-volume purposes. The terms of use agreement you will see when you adopt the widget. The one other thing I wanted to highlight was the codes that you got. All of you who are at this session, you have a card on your chair that looks very much like the widget invite card that you got in your bag. The only difference is that this code starts with AJX. So those codes are special codes. They give you access to the AJAX API that Neil was showing off just now. And you'll need that. And you have to go to the AJAX portal in order to get your snippet for your site. So there is a URL on all these cards at the bottom that says microsofttranslator.com/MIX09. And from there, you can access both the portals. So keep that in mind when you want to generate your site snippet. Use the AJX code for the AJAX API and the WGT code for the widget. Thanks.
Great. Thanks, Vikram.
Sorry, I missed the beginning, but...
Oh, we'll start again then. No, that's no problem.
Okay. How many languages are you planning to support?
So we support 12 languages, and Microsoft is constantly innovating to try and work out how to support more languages, and there's a lot of work going on to work out which languages and how to support more languages faster.
No kind of target for next year or if that?
Nothing that I can tell you, and the only reason I can't tell you is I don't know.
Okay. And is there a way of influencing that list?
Is there any way to influence that list? Absolutely there is, yes. In fact, Vikram, who is just up here, if you can grab him, take him aside, you can probably have a lot of influence on that list.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
We keep adding languages. So we added Polish about a couple of months ago, and it's only gated by the training data that we have available, and we are constantly updating both the quality as well as the language coverage.
So for the sake of the recording, Vikram just said we keep adding languages. Polish was only added recently, and we'll continue to add languages as they come online. You'll be notified.
Can you say something about the technology and infrastructure that sits behind all this?
No. Is Sandor here? Sandor, do you want to talk about the technology infrastructure that sits behind this? No. Okay, that's...
So I urge you to go to our blog. So go to the Microsoft Translator team blog. You can find links to it from most of these pages. And there you'll actually see blog posts from our researchers. This is technology that is being built at Microsoft Research over the last 13 years. So it's fairly complicated. It might seem, for the kind of quality of results that you see sometimes, you would wonder, what happened these 13 years. But it is a very, very complex challenge to get it right. And so there are a lot of blog posts on our blog from our various linguists and researchers. And you can also find our homepage, the research team's homepage on Microsoft Research website. So you'll be able to see what the algorithms are and what we are using to improve.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this up because we're being asked to get out of here. And if I don't, I'm going to get pulled off. So we can carry on this conversation in third place. For those of you that want T-shirts, I have some wonderful Microsoft Translator T-shirts. And I'm sure the Microsoft Translator team will come up here and hand them out while I pack up and get the heck out of here. So I'll be in third place in about 5 minutes, and we can carry on talking about translation. So who wants a T-shirt?